Cool. I'm just waiting for this one. All right, here we go. Hey, everybody, how we all doing today? Hopefully, you guys are having a great Tuesday, or I'm sorry, Wednesday, a little day off. But as always, I like to start off the videos by saying, I want to thank all the essential workers out there. Hopefully, you guys are, doing good. I want to thank all the doctors, nurses, scientists, fast food workers, truck drivers, you know, construction workers, just anybody out there that's working right now. Hopefully, you guys are staying safe and hopefully, you guys are doing the right thing. Hopefully, you guys are practicing taking every precaution. Um, as always, wash your hands before every meal, wash your hands after every meal. If you got to sneeze, cough, coughing your elbow, and always carry some hand sanitizer with you. And, just try to do the right thing. And for the ones that are quarantined, hopefully, you guys are doing the right thing, not doing anything crazy. You guys are, staying home. If you feel sick, stay home. Hopefully, you guys are taking care of the body, taking care of the mind, and the quicker we all do our part, the quicker we get to, go back to some normal, some normalcy in here. We get back to normal lives, which I'm sure is something that we all want right now, but can't do that if people don't want to listen, in a sense. I understand it's tough right now, being cooped up at home. I can't imagine that. I have to, I get up. I'm one of the lucky ones that get to say I get to go to work, so I can't imagine what it's like being cooped up at home all day. I'm sure it gets very exhausting, and I'm sure it gets very, your mind starts to play little tricks on you, and, eventually anchor rises up. But, just be patient and just keep doing the right thing, and we'll all get through this together. And I'm sure that's what we all want right now. So, with that being said, today, I want to thank everybody for joining in the show. We're going to talk about the AFC East schedule. We're going to talk about the Patriots, Bills, Jets, and Dolphins today. So, let's get started with the AFC East champions from last year, the Patriots. So, um, this is going to be a weird year for them, because if you haven't noticed by now, Tom Brady is not the quarterback of the New England Patriots. So it's a new era in New England, and they still have Bill Belichick. So I mean, I'm not counting them out yet. So here we go. Week 1, they got the Dolphins. Week 2, they got to go to Seattle for a Sunday night matchup at the Seahawks. Week 3, the Raiders come to visit them. Week 4, they got to go to the Chiefs, and then week 5, they get the Broncos, and then week 6 is their bye. I think right off the bat, what I see is, very balanced. The only thing is, we don't know what the Patriots are, because we don't know what Jarrett Stidham is, and we don't know how that defense might recover. They did lose a lot of pieces in free agency. They did lose defensive players on free agency. So now it's really up to them to see how they're going to pull this one off. But I think Bill's always going to find a way. And, the Bill Belichick, he's always going to find a way. And as long as he's there, I'm never counting out the Patriots. I know the Bills look like the team to beat right now in that division, but until somebody says otherwise, it's it's going to be hard for anybody to convince that the Patriots are just gonna just finally give up after Tom leaves. Excuse me for that hiccup, but um, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, the only thing is, yeah, you gotta go to the road to Seattle for Sunday night. That's a hostile environment. They got to go back to Kansas City. Now, this time they're the defending Super Bowl champions. That's a hostile environment. The Broncos, I keep saying, they're a sleeper team, so they might be a rough patch. The Dolphins, we don't know what they are, and the Raiders, we don't know what they are either. Like offensively, we don't know what they are. I mean, we don't know what they are defensively. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the first 5 weeks of the Patriots season go. But after the bye, they got a home game against the Niners. Then they got to go to the Bills. Then they got to go on the road on week 9 to the Jets for a Monday night matchup. Then Week 10, they got Sunday Night Football against the Ravens. Then Week 11, they got to go to Houston. Week 12, they got the Cardinals at home. Week 13, 14, for all you Patriot fans that are in the Los Angeles area or Southern California area, they're going to do back-to-back Chargers on Week 13 and then Week 14, Thursday Night Football against the Rams. So, I mean, if you're a Patriots fan and you live in the Southern California area, they're going to be here for 4 days, for almost a whole week. So I think, it's probably a good time to go catch them. I know Tom's not there, but, the Patriots are still the Patriots, so you got to give them that respect at least. Week 15, they're at the Dolphins. Week 16, for the final Monday Night Football game of the year, they got to go play the Buffalo Bills. And then Week 17 is the Jets, and that's their season right there. So it's going to be very tough because they've already played some of these teams, and some of these teams already kind of beaten them. But overall, I think best case scenario, 10-6 is probably the best case scenario here for the Patriots. But worst case scenario, I'm just going to flip it. 6-10. I think Bill's going to try everything in his power to get this team ready. It's just eventually, the thing is, you can get away with so long by having, great players at certain positions. But after a while, great players leave, and talent can only take you so far. Eventually, it's going to come to some matchups where talent versus talent wise, they're not going to match up. So overall, 6-10, worst case, best case, 10-6, and we'll see. But I mean, as I keep mentioning, I don't think Bill Belichick is just going to roll over now that Brady's gone, and the AFC for the first time in a long time looks like it's a wide open competition. I mean, there's a reason why none of these other teams have won that division. It was because of Tom. But now this is their chance to finally prove that it was Tom, it was not Bill Belichick, but I'm not going to count Bill out until somebody does. So I'm not saying that the Patriots are favorite this year. I'm just saying I have to get proven. Like, they have to prove it to all of us to see if it is true what they say. But as I mentioned, 6-10 worst, 10-6 best case, and we'll see what happens there. So here we go, moving on to the Buffalo Bills. We have the Jets week 1, so that's going to be interesting. Then they got the Dolphins at Miami week 2. They got the Rams week 3, back-to-back road games, at the Raiders week 4, at the Titans week 5. Week 6 is a quick turnaround, though. They got to go back home and get ready for a Thursday night matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. Then they're back on the road against the Jets. Then back-to-back home games against the Patriots, Seahawks, week 8, week 9. Then they get then they got to go to Arizona to play the Cardinals, and then they get their bye. The first 10 games, I mean, honestly, I can see 7-3 right here for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, maybe best case here for the first 10 weeks, I'm going to say 9-1. But I mean, it all depends too. Can Buffalo put it all together? I'm not sure, but it's going to be interesting to watch. But I mean, I think best case here, 9-1. Their schedule favors up, and it looks like a favorable schedule all the way throughout the year. So after the bye, they come back home, week 12 against the Chargers, and then week 13, they got to go to San Francisco for a Monday nighter against the 49ers. Then they come back home for the Steelers on a Sunday Night Football, week 14. Week 15, 16, week 15, they got to go to Denver, back-to-back road games, so they got to go to Denver week 15. Week 16, they got to go to New England for, again, the final Monday night matchup of the year against the Patriots. Week 17 is at home against the Dolphins. Overall for the Bills, it's very balanced. Home, away, home. 2 road games in a row. Home game, away, home game, away. So overall, it's just really balanced. Even the final, 6 weeks, they got 3 road games, 3 home games. So overall, it's well balanced. They're a very good team. That offense is finally started clicking at the end of the year. The defense will get better if they can just take care of that first part up until their bye. They could run away with the division, knowing the uncertainties of, again, New England. Did the Jets get better? Did Miami get better? We don't know that yet. However, with the Buffalo Bills, it seems that, they got their team in place. They got their defense set. Their special teams is ready to go. The Bills look like one of those teams who could possibly make a deep run late into January. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if maybe with a little bit of luck their way and maybe a call their way, maybe divisional round, maybe a conference championship game. They look like the real deal. It's just, it's been a long time since the Bills have won a playoff game. And it'll be nice to see them back in that way. And hopefully, if everything goes right, you know, I think best case for them right here, just looking at it, how balanced it is. They do have tough teams, but I could see a 12-4 schedule right here. I think best case would be 12-4. Worst case for them, 9-7. As I mentioned, maybe a couple of calls didn't go their way. Maybe they kind of slipped somewhere. But overall, I still see them going back to the playoffs again. I don't think, they have not a lot of talent, but they got just enough talent to take them to the playoffs, win there, maybe win a playoff game. And like I said, who knows? Maybe they are that sleeper team that maybe they could pull what the Titans did last year and shock everybody and go to the AFC Championship game. It's a tough stretch, but like I said, in this division, the uncertainty of everybody, it's there. It's there for their taking. It's just up to them if they want to really pull it all together. It's up to, Sean McDermott. It's up to Josh Allen. That offensive line has to play great again. That defense has to step up just a tad bit more, and that running game has to get going. But I think after that, it's all said and done. I could see the Bills maybe getting a bye week. Maybe not the first, seed, but maybe they get the second seed and maybe play the seventh seed. Because, seventh seed, most of the time, it's, we're rewarding mediocrity now. So with that seventh seed in place, so it could happen. I see a very, doable schedule for the Bills. It's well balanced, as I mentioned, and 12-4 best case, worst case, I say 9-7, get the last playoff. But I mean, this is a team that's going to go back to the playoffs, and I think the Bills are just one of those teams that looks like, and it feels like the team that what the Titans did last year and just start surprising everybody. So hopefully we'll see what happens there. It's going to be exciting to see. So here we go. Moving on to the Jets. This is going to be a make or break year for Adam Gase, honestly. It's either there's so many questions. Is Adam Gase the right guy? Is Sam Darnold the guy? It's just going to come to a point where all these questions are going to get answered this year. Week 1, they got the Bills at Buffalo. Week 2, they got the Niners coming to town. Week 3, they got to go to Indianapolis. Week 4, they got the Denver Broncos coming to town on a short week for a Thursday night football game. Week 5, the Cardinals. Week 6, they got to go to Los Angeles, play the Chargers. Week 7, they got the Bills. Week 8, they got the Kansas City Chiefs at Kansas City. Week 9, they got the Patriots at home on a Monday nighter. Week 10, they got to go to Miami, and then Week 11 is their bye. Looking at the schedule for the Jets, honestly, it doesn't really look good for them. It really doesn't. They got to go to Buffalo. We don't know what's going to happen there. Maybe they can get lucky again like they did last year. Maybe they could pull something out. But like I said, with the Bills roster, it looks unlikely. The 49ers just were 10 minutes away from the Super Bowl. The best case scenario for them would be Super Bowl hangover for them. Unlikely. Week 3 at Indianapolis. It all depends on Phillip Rivers. See how healthy he is, and if that offensive line can give him a little bit of time. But with everything what the Colts did in the offseason, I expect them to be a sleeper in that division. I keep mentioning Denver, being the sleeper team for me. Kyler Murray, as I already put my marbles out there saying, he's going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback, so maybe the Cardinals find a way to win there. And then the Chargers, at Los Angeles, the Jets, really, it's the same thing when a West Coast team goes to the East Coast. They don't really look that good. Same thing with an East Coast team coming to the West. They don't look that good. And then back against the Bills. And then you got to go to Kansas City, who's the defending champs. You got the Patriots, the Patriots have had the number on the Jets for a while now. And then the Dolphins is a 50-50. I think best case scenario for them, honestly, would be, I hate to say it, 4-6. It's just with all the uncertainties about the Jets, and we'll see what happens. I say 4-6. I think worst case, honestly, 1-9, and at that point, it's all that season would pretty much be a lost season, and they have to be over 500 by the bye week in order for them to have a chance to make it to the playoffs. It's just if they go into this bye week with a losing record, I expect Adam Gase to get fired. Sam Darnold might be, not a free agent anytime soon, but maybe they're going to start asking, is he the guy to build around? Changes are going to happen, and usually when it comes to changes, teams want to get their guy. And we'll see. But after the bye, they got the Dolphins again at home. They got the Raiders at home. They got to go back to back on the West Coast at Seattle week 14. Week 15 at the Rams. Week 16, they get the final home stand for the Browns. And then week 17, they got to go on the road to New England again. We don't know what the Dolphins are going to look like. They had a lot of draft capital, a lot of free agents go their way. We don't know what the Raiders are going to be this year. Maybe the offense gets going, and maybe the defense can just improve just a tad bit. We already know what Seattle is all about. Especially at home, you're going to try to beat Russell Wilson. It's not an easy task. It's happened, but it's not easy. The Rams, who knows? Maybe they'll get lucky this year. The Browns, they look like a team who finally addressed their biggest issue, and now they look like they're ready to roll. And again, the Patriots have had the Jets numbers for many, many years now. So when it's all said and done, I think best case for the Jets, honestly, I hate to say this, but I think 6-10, 5-11. I don't see it. I just know, knowing who's on the team now and just looking at it paper, it doesn't look good for the Jets. I could be wrong. And I think, best case scenario would be, 7-9. Worst case would be 5-11. So even then, a losing record, then they're really gonna have to start looking, is Adam Gase the guy? Is Sam Darnold the guy? We're getting him a bunch of pieces, but he's not putting it together. So I don't know. For the Jets, I don't see a good season this year, but it's going to be fun to recap it when it's all said and done and we look back on this video. It's going to be really fun to recap how they did, and we'll see how it goes. And last but not least, we have the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Miami Dolphins were the talk of the draft. They had multiple draft picks. They had draft capital. They had money to spend in free agency. So their team is a huge turnover from year 1 to year 2 under the Brian Flores era, and it's going to be good. It's going to get really interesting to see how this all works out for Brian Flores. So he's not a guy that's on the hot seat yet, but another bad year, even with all that draft capital and free agent signing, it's not going to look good heading into year 3. So here we go. Week 1, they got to go to Miami. or I'm sorry, week 1 they got to go to New England. Week 2 they got the Bills at home, and then the week 3 is a quick turnaround to Jacksonville. Really not a far place, Miami to Jacksonville is only about like an hour away, 2 hours away. It's not bad, but it's a Thursday nighter, so that's the killer part. Then week 4 they get the home game against Seattle. Week 5 back to back on the road. Week 5 is the 49ers. Week 6 is at Denver. Week 7 they got the Chargers at home. Week 8 they got the Rams at home. Week 9 they got to go to Arizona to play the Cardinals. Week 10 they get the Jets. And here we go, week 11 is their bye. Honestly, the way I see the schedule play out for them, I'm probably a little better than the Jets. I say best case, 5-5. That'd be my guess is 5-5 because we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We don't know how the defense is going to now look with all the pieces together. But I think best case, if they could finish 5-5, they're in a really good spot. I think worst case scenario here would probably be 3-7. I say 4-6, 3-7 is probably the worst case, which is not exactly what the Dolphins want to be at that point, because with all that addition, firepower that they added, they want to be just above better. But I say 5-5 would be their best bet. And then week 12, they got to go to New York to play the Jets. Weeks 13 and 14 are back-to-back home games. They got the Bengals at week 13. Then they got the Chiefs week 14. Week 15, they got the Patriots at home. So 3 straight home games. And then week 16 and 17, they got to go to 16. They got to go to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. And then week 17, they got to go to the Bills to play, Buffalo. So I think best case scenario for them here would be 8-8. I think best case here 8-8, and at least they're heading in the right direction and they're going to be competing sooner rather than later. Worst case scenario, I can't see them doing any worse than last year, but I do have them at a tough 6-10. They're competitive. If I know that doesn't make sense, but there's teams you look at and you say, man, they're just a couple wins or a couple calls this way to be, 9-7, 8-8. I think they're going to be a competitive 6-10, 7-9 team. That's the worst case. And at least at that point, they're not going to get blown out. They're not going to just get run over like they did in first year under Brian Flores' first year. At least now they're going to be competing. They're going to try to make up for it, and they're just going to keep adding pieces. They still have draft capital next year. They still have a little bit more wiggle room for next year's free agency class. So, I mean, really, it all depends on how it happens here. But overall, I think best case for them would be 8-8. Worst case would be 7-9, 6-10. Because if they go 5-11 again, then changes. I wouldn't say for the quarterback, but I think the head coach. Because the thing is, in the NFL, you don't have time. You have to win now, which is kind of a weird concept. Because when a head coach comes into a team that was already down in the dumps, and you expect them to win now, it's just that's the thing about the NFL. It's a what have you done for me lately league, and if you go back to back losing seasons, then it all depends. But I don't think in this case, I think Brian Flores is going to do a heck of a job down there in Miami. As I mentioned, the players there have bought into the system, have bought into what he's trying to bring, the culture he's trying to bring. So overall, I think the Dolphins are going to have a good year. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. Do we have any questions today? No. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for me. No questions on my end. Tomorrow, it is the final one. We're going to do the NFC East. So this is it. Final 4 teams. After that, going to get back to the drawing board, see what kind of shows we should do next. I'm always open to ideas. So if anybody out there has any ideas, what you guys want to talk about, any cool things you want to talk about, any cool shows, topics you want to talk about, you can always shoot them on my YouTube page, my Facebook page, that team thing we have. And I'm all open for ideas. So as I always say, this is more of your guys' show than it is mine. But I'm gonna try my best to come up with some material, and if anybody has any ideas, I would love to hear them. So as far as that, that's gonna do it for us today. So we'll see you tomorrow for the NFC East.